My name is Dr. Kevin Pecca. I wanted to make a podcast that exposes people to the true miracles of life and health. All the guests on this show have been specially picked because they bring something positive to the world. They have some of the most amazing and inspiring life stories. These people have a passion for living, healing, and leaving the world better than they found it. There is something inside these people that made them keep fighting through all the tough times, even when people told them it was not possible. They carried on and made their lives beautiful again. And now they are sharing their experiences with the world. This is the Expect Miracles podcast. Enjoy the show. Today on the Expect Miracles podcast, we have Tom Moynihan. Tom Moynihan is a retired New York City police officer, firefighter, fire marshal, nurse, and is currently a personal counselor. He is also my uncle who has been a second father to me and is always there for our family no matter what the situation may be. Today on the podcast, we talk about the power of having God-sized goals, the power of writing down very clearly your goals and intentions, the gift of asking the world what you really want out of this life, and creating your own opportunities. Please welcome Tom Moynihan. Uncle Tom, how are you?
Very good, Kevin. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Uncle Tom, where are you from originally?
I was originally born in Queens, New York. I was the number 5 of 6 children. And from there, we lived in Queens Village for about 6 more years. And then we moved out to Massapequa on Long Island.
So you moved out to Long Island when you were about like 6 or 7?
Yes.
And what were those early days like for you? Can you remember?
The early days back in Long Island where the men were men and the women were men, it was a little tough. The winters were a little more severe, but it was a great place to grow up. It was a great place to get my formative education, and it really worked out well for me. It did.
What's it like growing up in a big family like that, 1 of 6 kids?
Well, the first up is best dressed, so you had to really learn how to survive. But we were very, very close. That's the one thing I could say about a big family is it really, really is conducive to staying really tight and close up to this day.
Absolutely. And what were those early years like for the family? Were they tough?
Well,
were they good? Smooth sailing? What was it like?
It was a situation where we had a family dynamic where my father had some issues with alcohol, and it was very difficult growing up as a child of an alcoholic. You know, I later went to graduate school to get my MSW, and the one question they always ask you when you're coming home from school, or if you suspect that a child has a problem with alcohol or drugs at home, you ask them the telltale question is, what can you expect when you come home from school at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you open up the door? And if you get the deer in the headlight look from the kid, so there's something going on at home that, you know, you really should look into. So the home life was very, very tight knit. We had a very, very close relationship with all of our kids, but unfortunately it was kind of overshadowed by alcohol. So we learned to basically survive. It was a survival most of the time.
What kind of things did you take from your early childhood that helps you survive those times in the early years into your early 20s and everything?
Well, I think living in an environment like that, I mean, there was no violence, there was no abuse. It was just the unknown, the uncertainty. You know, getting involved in sports. I played lacrosse way back when, in the days of wooden sticks and iron men. And unfortunately, you know, there wasn't too much participation from my father. My mother was trying to survive and working as much as she could to keep the bills paid and to keep everybody together. So the things that I brought from that relationship or from that household was a survivorship mode. You know, we learned to be close. We learned to be self-sufficient. We learned that we had to get whatever we really wanted. So we all got jobs early. We all kind of looked out for each other, but we all kind of took care of ourselves.
And how did the dynamic change when your father passed away at a young age? How did the dynamic shift? And how old were you, like 16?
I was 17 when my father died.
17, yeah.
Yeah. There really wasn't too much emphasis on higher education. If you made it out of high school, they were very, very happy. Mm-hmm. And that was because my parents were the end product of the Great Depression, and they survived. They were living on the coattails of that whole Depression era. So there really wasn't a big emphasis for higher education. Luckily for me, my role model early on was my brother, Gene. Gene was instrumental in taking a look at, you know, a few options in my life. Gene became a New York City policeman. And at the time, they had a police trainee program going on. So it prompted me to take the entrance exam for the New York City Police Department at age 16.
Wow.
So we had the opportunity to come on board as young as 17 and you do non-enforcement jobs until you reach the age of 21. And then you automatically got appointed a patrolman at the time. So
you were technically a New York City cop at 17?
Actually, I was New York City police trainee at 17. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So with the passing of my father, I went on to get on the police department when I was 17. And that kind of opened up a lot of interesting times and era in my life.
I'm sure you met some great people with that. I'm sure you had some fun. What was your experience like at such a young age as a New York City policeman?
Well, I went to work for, my first command was the narcotics division, and I worked on there for a few months. And then I was asked to join the community relations division, which was a select cadre of younger guys. We were all like 18, 19, and 20. And they wanted us to go around and give narcotic lectures to schools. At the time, the Bronx was burning. It was a lot of heroin on the streets, again, at that point in time. And they were trying to have a group of young police trainees that we could form a relationship with. So they trained us. They put us in a formalized training program, and we all became precinct service officers, and we worked throughout the city. So I did that until I was 21 years old, and then I entered the police academy for my formalized training.
Nice. And how long were you a New York City cop for?
Okay, I stayed on the New York City Police Department 1977, so I was 25. Now, fortunately for me, when I was in high school, a friend of mine's father was a New York City fire lieutenant. At his prompting, he threw us into the back of his Chevy station wagon one Saturday morning, and he says, "You're all going to go down and take the New York City Fire Department test." I think we were at 17. Anyway, we took the test, and I took the fire test, and I forgot about it. So when I was a policeman from 1973 on, we were in the middle of a financial crisis. The city was going broke. They were laid off cops. I got laid off for about 3 days in 1975 during the fiscal crisis.
Are you married at this point?
Not yet. And that's right before I got married in 75. So they called us back. They lit off, I think, 5,000 people, and they called back 2,000 people because they were having some major civil upheavals going on at the time. So we got called back on, and I wound up going into the tactical patrol force at that point in time. And we worked 6 at night to 2 in the morning. And we were more or less worked in high crime areas. We were a high productive, high activity outfit. And we worked in probably some of the toughest neighborhoods in New York City at the time.
So you probably saw some doing that, huh?
It certainly did. It was my youthful urban education. So at that time, I started going to school. I started going to night school. I went to John Jay College. And then in 1977, I happened to be working in the 28th precinct up in Harlem. While making a car stop, my partner was going out and talking to the driver of a car from the passenger side. So he was getting into a little bit of a verbal argument. So I reached down to open up the door, and a gypsy cab came and took the door of the radio car off.
Oh, man.
Then everything broke loose, and we wound up having to take everybody down to the station house and getting that squared away. And fortunately for me, the next day I got a letter from the fire department. They asked me if I wanted to become a New York City fireman.
That's wild how something like that happens, and then the next day an opportunity comes. Like, it's almost unexplainable.
They say, Kevin, there's no coincidences in this world, and it's really true. So from there, I thought about it. And I initially turned the first opportunity down in August of 77. And I had just got married, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to be a fireman. But then in November of 77, I had made up my mind I wanted to go. So I decided to leave the New York City Police Department and enter the New York City Fire Department.
Why did you want to go to the fire department?
No one in my family was ever a fireman. The motivating factor I had really was my supervisor at the time, this guy, Bob Leonard. He's my boss. He heard that I had turned the fire department down, and he wanted to talk to me. So he had me drive him that one night. So I went down, drove that night, and he said, "I understand you had the opportunity to go to the fire department." I said, "Yeah, I was thinking about it. I'm really not sure if I really want to go." And he said, "Well, opportunities don't come along in your life that often." He says, "If you really should take another look at that and seriously think about that." And we talked for about an hour, and he laid it all out for me. And I was touched by him actually sharing this with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about it, and I said, he made some good points. He says, "You got a year to come back." He says, "If it doesn't work out with the fire department, you always come back to police." And he says, "There's no time lost." So I decided, let me give it a shot. So I went to the fire department, and I never looked back.
And how was that transition from policeman to firefighter?
It was like night and day. It really was. It was like glorified Boy Scout camp. I mean, we went to work on Reynolds Island every day for 6 weeks. And we're sliding down ropes, and we're shooting water buildings and, knocking down doors, breaking glass, running around. It was a lot of fun. And I met some of the most interesting, endearing, and some of the bravest men I've ever met in my life on that job. I realized that it was a challenge because you were fighting against nature. Mm-hmm. And I never understood that until I got into that position where you had to go and put yourself in some real unsafe situations. And it was using the strength and fortitude of the people that you were working with as a team effort was the motivating factor. In other words, you couldn't let your team down. So being one of 5 guys in a truck company, you learned your job, you learned it well, and you went in there and you never let anybody down. You never let anybody alone. You always made sure that everyone got out together. So it was a great concept, and it worked. It worked. It was a great experience for me. I got hurt early on in the job. I had about 3 or 4 years on the job, and we were relocating to Rockaway during a cold February morning. Unfortunately, when we got down to Rockaway, we got into a bit of a situation where I got thrown off the rig, and I wound up breaking my arm and my knee, and wound up going on a sick report for about 6 months, 6 or 8 months.
You were up on top of the ladder or something, right?
Yeah.
How high up were you?
I was about, 20 feet or so, 20 feet. And then we lost hydraulics and everything else. It was a tower ladder.
So you fell 20 feet off the ladder onto the concrete?
Yeah, 15, 20 feet, something like that. So it was...
You broke your leg and...
Broke my leg and my right radial arm.
Oh, jeez.
Right radial head of my arm. So anyway, so I was that sick. And at that time, the fire department was having a program. And they were looking to get more men into nursing. I had thought about that. I had applied for it earlier on. So when I was out sick that time, they accepted me and I started my studies and I started going to nursing school.
What were you going to school before? Because you mentioned you were taking some classes at John. What were you going to school for then?
When I was a policeman, I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice.
Criminal justice. Okay.
All right. I wound up getting my Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice Administration and Planning. And from that point on, I was further my education. Went to the fire department and they kind of laid it out for me. I said, that might be a real interesting career path. And again, they were looking to get more men into the nursing field at that point in time, in the 70s. And they gave us unlimited mutuals and really made it very, very easy for us to go to school.
What made you want to go to school? Because nobody else in your family really was going to further their education in college and everything. What do you think it was that made you say yes? Because a lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, my sister Margie went to nursing school. Early on, she became a nurse, and I was married to Maureen. My wife Maureen is a nurse, and I thought it might be something instead of just kind of underutilizing my spare time in the fire department. And there was a lot of free time, a lot of time off, and they had a great chart. I utilized that time wisely, and I figured I'd go to nursing school, and that's what I did.
So you went to nursing school, and then after you graduated, were you done with the fire department, or?
Actually, I continued to go to nursing school. And when I got back from medical leave, I had taken a test for the fire marshal's office. So I became a fire marshal.
Oh, wow.
So I was back to police work again. I was doing cause and origin, and I was an investigative police officer for the New York City Fire Department. And I used to investigate arson and fatal deaths and candidate investigations. We did a plurality of jobs for the New York City Fire Department.
Did you enjoy that work?
I did, yeah. Most people, when you came and talked to them and said, yeah, listen, with fire marshal's office, it's okay, the fire extinguishers are over there in the corner. And I said, no, we don't want to see the fire extinguishers. Put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest. So they really didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
It was a great job. It was a great job. And it was very interesting to learn about, cause and origin, really, the different colors of fire, the different colors of smoke, and how you reconstruct a fire zone by using an inverted cone and looking to see where the most damages in the building is, where the origin of the fire really took place.
Oh, okay.
And we worked with the NYPD Austin Explosion Squad. We did a lot of work with terrorists and also for profit. They had a lot of international fraudulent groups that were coming into the country at that point in time, and they were buying a lot of buildings. They were burning the top floor down, and then they got the whole building through insurance. So there was a lot of different scams going on at the point in time. It was very, very interesting working with ATF, the Austin Explosion Squad, and the Fire Marshal's Office. Also, we had a joint Austin task force with the state police. So it was really interesting, pulling all of our collective resources together. And really.
Was that crazy hours working like that, like all around the clock, or was it just like 9 to 5?
We worked the clock. We did work the clock. At the time, I was still going to nursing school, so they were very accommodating to me, too. So they let me change my tours around, and I happened to finish nursing school right as I retired from the fire department.
And are you juggling a family at this point? Any kids or?
At this point in time, I think we had 3 or 4 kids. But the injuries that I sustained from the fire department for that fall that time, basically they said I really couldn't do firefighting anymore. And they asked me, they said that your firefighting career is over. So at that point in time, my career is kind of mended together there. And then there's opportunity to go into nursing, which I did. And I had a number of different interesting jobs as a nurse also. I worked for a pharmaceutical company. I sold medications at one point in time and did some private duty stuff. I worked for Newsday for a bit doing occupational health nursing. And also I had an opportunity to work for an insurance company as an insurance medical investigator, which kind of put everything that I was doing all together. I wore a lot of hats. I was doing investigation, I was doing medical, I was doing a lot of different things. And I decided to try that. I went up working for 2 different companies for over 30 years doing that kind of work.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that job, you're investigating like insurance fraud and like people that are faking like injuries or whatever, right?
Right. We basically try to establish a pattern of, credible claims, and we do pay all credible claims. And naturally, you do find some people that are not as honest as other people are. And at a point in time like that, we do make the proper notifications and the referrals, the fraud bureau and whatnot when necessary. Majority of the time, though, we spend a lot of time just evaluating people that have been on a claim for a while to see if there's anything we can do as their carrier and to help them through difficult times. That's why you get that kind of insurance.
Now, Uncle Tom, now at this point, you're wearing a couple different hats at work. You got a large family. How were you able to balance out everything, home life, work life, spending time with the kids, paying for everything with the kids? How does that all work? Because Aunt Maureen had a job too, right?
Yeah, my wife Maureen was working. Yeah, she always worked. And then she worked between part-time and then went back full-time. And then she went back to graduate school and she became an NP, nurse practitioner in psych. So, it was a collaborative effort. We basically had to pitch in. Probably Adderall would have worked a lot. It would have worked very well at that point in time. Unfortunately, that wasn't an option. We had a lot of energy. You had to have a lot of energy because we had 6 children. Always involved in everything. Well, our oldest daughter, Maura, she was involved in track, cross country, and indoor track. And our son Tom was involved in wrestling and in lacrosse. And then Brendan was the same. He was involved in lacrosse and football. And they were all involved. I'd say the majority was lacrosse and soccer. And again, some of them did lacrosse. Some of them did wrestling. Some of them did golf. Terry, I think, had the most charmed life, though. He did golf in his last year, and he was a pretty good soccer player. So he really, a good couple of years in high school. Elizabeth played lacrosse for a while. And so everyone was very, very busy. They were all finding their own way. So it was a wild and crazy time, but it was great.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uncle Tom, what advice would you have for people that are, just trying to find their way in life, whether it's their passion or whether it's going into new job career? Because, you've had so many different careers over the time and you've found a way to enjoy them all. How do you think that was?
Well, one more thing that I didn't tell you, being a nurse and having a background, or a family history of alcoholism, I was approached to join this program they had. It was the New York State Peer Assistance for Nurses program about 12, 13 years ago. And it gave nurses an opportunity that had problems with drugs and alcohol, the ability to basically go into this program in lieu of prosecution against their license, in lieu of discipline. What they do is they will work with them. So I joined this as a SPAN facilitator, and I've been working in this program for the last 10 or 12 years. It really got me into counseling. It really got me into thinking about, handling different situations. It made my job as an investigator a lot better, a lot sharper, because I had a lot of skill sets that I used to do a lot of other things. It prompted me basically to take advantage of the company that I work for right now's educational assistance plan. And I went back, I got my master's in social work, and I really liked that. I really liked the type of work. It really motivated me to look further into this. So right now I'm working the SPAN program. I do some private counseling on the weekends, and it just is very, very fulfilling. What suggestion would I give to people that are looking for the future or are unsure? Follow your heart, follow your dream. Never, ever, ever let anybody talk you out of it, and never let yourself out of it. Because we are sometimes our biggest critic. I can't do this. You can. Listen, if you put your mind to anything, you can do anything you really, really want to do. It's just your desire. It's just what you want to make your dominant intention to do. And something? You can do it. You can do it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so you do some private counseling. You said, what do people come to you with, and how are you able to help these people with whatever they're dealing with?
Most people come to you because they have an issue, something that's affecting their life, something that they can't really, really shake. Sometimes it could be drugs and alcohol. Sometimes it could be a family situation. It could be a marriage. It could be, errant children. It could be a number of things. We all reach a point in time, or most of us, or some of us reach a point in time in life where, something you need help. And something, just getting help or just asking for help sometimes is the biggest roadblock or the biggest stumbling block that people have to overcome. When they reach a point in their life and they say, look, this is not working for me anymore, then it's time for you to just reach out. So when people come to me, I usually let them talk and give them a free rein as far as what's really bothering them. And then we go through a program where the program it stems from Think Anew. That's the writing program that my brother Gene and I, all of us have been starting a long time ago. And it's basically a combination of goal-focused therapy and also just asking people, what do you really want? The majority of people, they don't spend 5 minutes in their life trying to figure out what it is that they really want, because they just go through life and they just kind of spinning their wheels. And it's like, okay, all right. They get up in the morning, they go to work and they ruminate a lot of windshield time, a lot of thoughts, but they really don't understand, or they really don't take too much time figuring out what it is that I want. Or what is this really going to make me happy? What is it? What is it? And that's where I work with people. I said, well, what is it that's really going to make your life happy? Or how would you want your life to be? What changes do you want to make to basically make this better? And just opening up the doors like that.
And how does that work? Do you have them journaling? How does the goal-oriented lifestyle, how does that start, and how do they make steps in the right direction?
Some people are better candidates for journaling than others. Some people have that affinity to journaling because, something, a thought is a chemical reaction. And when you write it down, it becomes a physical reaction. And when you're in school, they always tell you, they say, listen, if you really want to learn something, if you really want to know something, if you really want to be very, very good at it, if you really want to know it and feel it, then write it down. Write it down. Write your times tables down 500 times. Rewrite your notes. Think about it. If you can write it down, that means that you know it. You've got it. There's something about writing down what it is that you want and making your intentions God-size. My God-sized intentions are every day. I want robust health. I want financial freedom. I want to send out the best vibration in the world to bring in the best clients into my life. I want to surround my children with white light to make them happy, joyous, and free. And things like that. I repeat the same thing every day. However, I change a little bit. I do make changes in my journaling every day. And you know something? If people use it, I use it in my therapy classes all the time. It works for them. It really, really works for them. It's powerful. Well, our words are powerful. And our thoughts become our behaviors.
Absolutely. So do you have them write down short-term goals, long-term goals, and when is it important to reassess those goals?
Sometimes I don't goal at all. I goal it between us. In other words, I say, how would you really like this to work out? And after the initial situation or crisis, depending on what it is been addressed, then we go over, what it is that I really want on a long term. Like the magical question, if you would wake up tomorrow and your life would be perfectly fine and wonderful, and everything you wanted in your life was right in front of you, what would your life be? Okay.
That's hard work. You don't just write that down right away. You really got to sit by yourself for a little bit and think about it.
You do have to think about it. That's why it kind of makes you contemplate your priorities. It makes you figure out what's really important in your life, And then from there, it kind of makes it easy to point out any shortfalls that they may be going through, anything that's really not jiving, or anything that they should, is that really the best thing for you? Do you really think, how's this going to work out for you? What do you think? What do you think?
Do you think some people are fearful to actually ask for what they want? Like some people may think, oh, that's too big. I can't ask that. How does somebody remove that?
Right. That's why I say make your aspirations and make your wishes God-size. In other words, don't ask for little. Listen, when you write down that book, this is your checkbook for life with an unlimited supply of currency there. You can write anything down that you want. Okay, the currency will come. Anything you want is going to happen. And the funny thing about this, Kevin, is, I tell people, don't buy it, just try it. Don't buy it, just try it. And I guarantee if you are steadfast in doing this for 90 days, your life will change.
Consistency.
It cannot help but change. You'll have a couple of holy moments. You'll say, oh, what happened here? And I tell people, I said, I want you to call me up. I want you to tell me about this when it happens. So this is what happens with that very, very frequently, all the time.
And Uncle Tom, so you also probably dealing with some cops, firefighters, whoever it may be. You might have some people that are pretty hard-headed, getting in their own way, don't want to believe that the journaling is going to help. How do you break through to those people?
Well, a lot of times, a lot of people, I've seen a number of cops and firemen post 9/11 with PTSD, things like that, post-traumatic stress disorder. And sometimes it's very, very difficult for them to think clearly and not have flashbacks and not have the recurrent thoughts and not have that. And sometimes journaling what they really want is very, very helpful. Other types of therapy I use too, which like rapid resolution therapy, which is a combination of like hypnotherapy and also deep thought process changes that occur very, very quickly. It's a very, very interesting type of modality, and it really, really helps a lot of people.
How does it work?
Well, it's an intense it's a weekly course that you take to get certified in that. And it includes like changing the level of consciousness. Like if someone has a real problem, like with PTSD or stuff like that, the human mind is different than the primal mind. Okay, if a zebra's walking down in the jungle and sees a lion, okay, they go into fight, flight mode and they take off. The only thing that the zebra has to be aware of, he's got to be faster than the slowest zebra. Once he gets past that threat, I know the zebra goes up to him and they say, hey, you just about made it out of there by the skin of your nose. He said, what are you talking about? They don't hold on to the same type of...
It doesn't stay with them for years.
It doesn't stay. And that's the difference between the human brain and the primal animal brain. Okay?
They're not losing sleep at night over it.
They're not losing sleep over it. Exactly. Not at all. Not at all. You know? And it's similar to another analogy we use is like a garbage disposal. And a lot of times you put the coffee grinds down there and you turn the faucet on, you grind it up, you throw your eggshells down there, you grind it up, it goes through smooth. That's your thought process. Every once in a while you get an avocado pitch in that mechanism. And those are the thoughts that bring you problems. These are the thoughts that cause PTSD. These are the thoughts that cause a lot of traumatic events in our lives, sexual trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, things like that sticks in their heads. And that's when RRT is very, very effective.
Beautiful. So Uncle Tom, for people listening to this, how does one even start to journal? Like what do you think they should start with just to get the ball rolling?
Okay. Well, you can get the book, you can get the Think Anew book, and it gives you a little explanation, like a foreword to the book, and it shows you how to journal. And you can get that online, or you can just get a composition book. You can do it on your phone, whatever it is. In other words, start simple. Start with 10 affirmations, say. And what is it that's really, really important in your life? Okay, is it your health? Is it your financial freedom? Is it your marriage? Is it your children? Is it someone or something in your life that's really causing you an issue or something that you really want to change? Is it a change in your job? Is it changing in the direction of really where you want to go? These are the things that you can start small. And you know what? The only 2 rules are make your wishes God-sized and keep everything positive. Remember, you've got an unlimited supply of currency, whatever you're writing in, that it's going to take place whatever you want.
Uncle Tom, so now that I've heard like your story and I'm just kind of connecting the dots here, it seems like every opportunity you've had, whether it's another job or just another opportunity, they've kind of come sequentially without you trying too hard, almost like it kind of just flowed one into the next. How do you explain that? How do you think that came to be?
You know, Kevin, I've always had an open mind, and I've always been the type of person to basically always keep my ear to the ground. I mean, some people aren't like me. I've always been conscientious, and I've always been looking for, maybe I'd like to do that. Maybe that would be good for me. Maybe I could try to look into something else. You know, would it be nice if? So I've been the type of person that always kind of keep my ear to the ground, to always look for the next step. And you know something? Like journaling, like, you know, things have always just come my way. I don't know how it happened. I didn't ask too many questions.
Yeah.
But you know something? It was like right place in the right time. You know something? But I think it's the right mentality in the right time. I think that's what it has to do. I think if you're an up person, I think if you're a half full glass all the time, I think if you basically keep your positive attitude going all the time, I think that really, really helps all.
It sounds like you didn't put a lot of self-limitations on yourself either. You always had those God-sized intentions, and it's definitely served you.
I did. And, you know, I also had a very, very positive family. You know, growing up, I mean, as tough as we had it, I mean, we were very, very supportive with each other. I mean, you know, my marriage has been terrific. I mean, we've supported ourselves all the time, and we've always basically helped each other attain the positions in our life that we really want to get to. When Maureen went back to graduate school, when I went back to graduate school, I mean, we always were there for each other. And I think that was really, really important.
Absolutely. And Uncle Tom, so this is by far the longest I've ever heard you talk about yourself. Usually when we get a conversation going with you, you're always willing to just ask how the other person is doing. You genuinely care about, you're definitely a listen first, talk next type of guy. How do you think that plays a role in relationships and just being able to hear everything. I think that's why people are so comfortable opening up to you, because you definitely give them a gateway to share everything. Where does that come from and all of that?
Well, I tell you, they say, you have 2 ears. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It helps. It helps being a listener. It helps being a gifted listener. Your father was a gifted listener.
Mm-hmm.
We could all learn something from your dad. There's something to be said about just really listening. There's listening and then there's really listening. And looking beyond the question and maybe invoking other questions to more or less make an understanding of what they're going through. It helps me when I'm doing insurance, interviewing people. It helps me when I'm basically helping out a client, when I'm in therapy with them. So many people are so quick to talk,
Absolutely.
And listen, sometimes it's good just to be quiet. Sometimes it's good just to be quiet and just let it all sink in.
Yeah.
Silence equals silence a lot of times. You really should just listen. And it helps. It helps.
Absolutely.
It helps to have a sense of humor too in this world. It really does.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like even if another person talks a lot, if you just let them talk, they'll end up talking themselves in a circle anyway, and you won't have to backlash at them or anything. You just kind of let them go, and they end up talking themselves in a circle anyway.
They wind up talking in a circle. But, sometimes they can talk themselves out of the problems too.
Yeah.
Especially if you can stop them and say, listen, what did you just say? What did you just say there? What did you really mean by that? Think about what you just said,
Yeah, that's interesting you said that, because I was doing a couple sessions with Jay.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm kind of the same way as you. I let other people talk. So I had it flipped on me, and some of the stuff that was bothering me, I started talking about. And as I was saying it, I was thinking to myself, that is such a non-issue. It's almost like when you just put it out and you actually see the words come out in front of you, it's like, that's not even a real problem. I wouldn't have had that if I didn't say it out loud.
It's true.
Yeah.
It really is true. I know. Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Sometimes you got to hear it from your own ears, and be gentle with yourself too. It's nice being gentle with yourself and not beating yourself up, because, we are sometimes our worst enemy. If we have the ability to really, really do a number on ourselves, so we have to be kind and gentle with yourself, really.
So are you saying like the way we talk to ourselves? Because some people can be very hard and use just bad language on themselves. Like you're and stuff. And do you think that takes a toll on a person's well-being after a while?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Like I said, words are very powerful. Words are very powerful. Thoughts are even more powerful. And, if you're thinking things about yourself and about, not being too forgiven, then, that leads to a lot of issues. So,
just changing the way you talk to yourself can be a powerful change.
Exactly. Just change your environment. Just basically change the way you're thinking about things. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, as Wayne Dyer used to say all the time, and it's so true. So if you're really in a funk, do something about it. Go for a walk. Take care of yourself. Do something good for yourself. Do something kind for yourself. When people are leaving the session, I say, so what are you doing for fun this week? What are you doing for fun this week? What exactly are you doing for yourself? Be a little selfish for yourself. Another thing, what I forgot to tell you, which is really paramount, is every time I write, I always put, I love Tom. The first thing on the top of the journal, I love Tom, because if I don't love myself, I'm not good for anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So Uncle Tom, at the end of every show, I like to ask all my guests, what is one piece of advice that has really resonated with you over the years that you would like to share or gift the audience? Could be absolutely anything.
Well, I tell you, some of the gifts that I got from my life and my children, and the gifts that I got from them is that, hard work pays off. They all have blossomed in their own way. They've all have come around. And my advice to anybody is that, something, hard work pays off. Be kind to yourself. Be the best guy that you possibly can to everyone around you, because something, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. Always is.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Uncle Tom. I love you. Thank you for always being there for me. And I really appreciate all the wisdom you provided for this episode. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Kevin. I'm very proud of you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, subscribe, give us 5 stars, and leave a review. It really helps boost the podcast and spread the good word. My chiropractic practice is located in West Orange, New Jersey at Montclair Upper Cervical Chiropractic. You can also find us on Facebook at Montclair Upper Cervical Chiropractic. All of my information is on my website at drkevinpecca.com, drkevinpecca.com. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Dr. Kevin Pecca for podcast episodes, patient testimonials, and educational videos. I have daily affirmations and inspirational quotes on Instagram at Easel Affirmations, EASEL Affirmations. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at drkevinpecca@gmail.com. drkevinpecca@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Cheers.